in accordance with Order 13.3, will take the chair and exercise the powers of the chair in relation to all proceedings of this House until Mr. Speaker resumes the chair. I thank you.
Honourable members, praise. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favour upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic, endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labours of government this land and people may well and truly served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to those deserving. A country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the effort of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honourable members, let me kindly invite you to item number 4. Item number 4 in today's order paper. Correction of votes and proceedings and official report. We will begin with correction of votes and proceedings. We start from page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Honorable James, are you up on your feet? Page 5. Page 6. Page number 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page number 10. Page 11. Page 12. And finally page 13. Honourable members, in the absence of any corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 29th sitting held Friday, the 15th July 2022 are adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honourable members, we have Thursday, the 23rd June 2022 official report. Thursday, 23rd June 2022 official report. I take it again. Thursday, 23rd June 2022 official report. Yes, Honourable Member for Cardasso.
Honourable Speaker, on the cover page, there are some corrections that must be made. Under statements, Roman numeral I. If you look at column 6, the right condition should be role of African parliaments in accelerating intra-African trade. Accelerating is omitted on the cover page. Then under motions, Roman numeral II, the first word, credendo. If you look at column 51, there's no N. It should be credendo. So if we can reconcile and get the right rendition, then under resolutions, the same word, credendo, is supposed to be CRE, no N. The Honourable Speaker, on column 20, second paragraph, increase in trade volume and in revenue in terms of hard currency. Hard currency, because I made that contribution, hard is omitted. Should be hard currency. Then the next paragraph, Mr. Speaker, with these few words, not these few words, with these few words.
Which column?
The same column 20, the third paragraph where you have, Mr. Speaker, with this few words, it should be with these few words. And respectfully, Mr. Speaker, column 16, Miss Esla Owusu Ekufu. You have Miss and you have Mrs. And Esla Owusu Ekufu is Mrs. So if we can correct the Miss and change it to Mrs. Then column 106. Column 106. Column 106. Plans to improve mobile telephony in some communities of Busa South constituency, not constituency. So we need to correct constituency to constituency. The last one.
Hold on. Column 106, which line?
The second paragraph with the heading, plans to improve mobile telephony in some communities of Busa South constituency. Have you seen it?
Yes.
It should be constituency. Then the last one is on column 110, 110. Column 110, 1, 2, the fourth paragraph where you have Mr. Festus Ewa Kofi. It says, Mr. Speaker, in reference to Standing Order 63.3, it should be Standing Order 68.3, not Standing Order 63.3. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yes, Honorable Northton.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would.
Honorable, hold on. Table, I believe we have taken notice of all the issues Honorable Member for Kwadaso have raised. Yes, Honorable Member for Northton, let's hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll add a few at column 6. The first paragraph of the Honorable Majority Leader's statement at column 6. Mr. Speaker, this statement is on the role of African parliaments. It should be plural, parliaments. And indeed, parliamentarians in accelerating intra-African trade, not trades. So the S should be deleted at the end of trade. So parliament and parliaments, plural, and then trade without an S. Then, Mr. Speaker, if you come to column 10, 1-0, the fourth paragraph, that's directly following after H, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the AFTA, the F should be a small f. The acronym should be accurately captured, Mr. Speaker. And then, Mr. Speaker, at column 20, the third paragraph, able Honorable Majority Leader, able, not abled, able, so that should be corrected. At column 21, the second paragraph, the last line at the second paragraph, column 21, Honorable Majority Leader has spoken about, not Honorable Majority has spoken about. So we need to insert leader after majority. So kindly insert leader after majority. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very, very much. Table, please kindly take note of all those corrections. Honourable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the official report of Thursday, the 23rd June 2022 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Yes, leader, we are moving to item number 5, question time. Yes, leader, let's hear you.
Speaker, indeed, yes, exactly so. I will seek your leave for the Deputy Minister to stand instead, Speaker, with your kind leave. And I related to my colleague accordingly.
To answer the questions?
Yes, Speaker.
Very well. So, Honorable Deputy Minister may take the rightful seat. Honorable members, the Deputy Minister for Communication and Digitalization is here to represent his minister to answer questions. And as usual, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 questions. And therefore, I will only allow one supplementary question from the owner of the questions. Anyway, Minister, I'm told you have something to say, so let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I come before you to plead that these 10 questions be rescheduled to another time. My minister has an emergency and she can't physically be here, but I promise that these answers will be ready within the week, and we would come back to answer these questions for honorable members. Thank you.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why the majority whip chose to whet our appetite only to get us just deflated. Mr. Speaker, it's so difficult for me because the Deputy Minister, our own colleague, is not like a minister. Because, Mr. Speaker, there's a deliberate attempt from this ministry to evade answering questions. Mr. Speaker, just check the number of times the minister has written, the ministry has written through a director, not even the minister, to this house that her questions be rescheduled. Mr. Speaker, now you are hearing that some of the answers are not ready. All the 10 questions, answers are not ready. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, our colleague has shown some respect to even come here herself to make this plea. I really wish it was her own minister, so that I can speak my mind to her. But please tell the minister that what she will not tolerate when she was in the opposition, she should not be doing to other members. This House right to oversight should be better known to her as a member of this House. That if she doesn't respect this House, she shouldn't expect any other person to respect this House. And this is more than the 5th time she has written to defer this. But unfortunately, you are here, and a harmless Deputy Minister, that is making it very difficult for us to speak our mind. But we want to take you by your word that if the minister cannot find answers, please find answers and come. Because you are saying within this week. I want to take you by your word. But I'm really worried that it is you who is here, and you are making me hold back a lot of things that I would have said about how this ministry is treating this house. Mr. Speaker, if she cares to know, even their annual report, the annual report from that ministry, her agencies, all of them are delaying. And you have the kind of minister, once she was here, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Minister should be spared the agony of what will have said to the minister. But Mr. Speaker, we hope that they will program and come and answer the question. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Speaker, I heard my colleague loud and clear, but just to put on record that it was not as planned to whet members' appetite, only for them to be disappointed. And my colleague knew ahead of time, Speaker, he knew ahead of time, and I don't need to elucidate on this. I can recollect on 2 occasions where she has officially related to leadership in Parliament, twice. I can recall 2 occasions. I think we shouldn't litigate overly on this matter. You have a genuine cause, and I agree with you that ministers should show deference to this House. And the Deputy Minister has stood instead, show deference and respect to the House and the Speakership. So I plead that, just as she indicated that within the course of the week, the ministry would do the needful. I agree with you, this question has been outstanding for some time. But let's give her the benefit of the doubt. And I'm confident that what she whispers to leadership and to the Speaker, I'm confident these questions will be answered. So let me appeal to especially the members whose name the questions stand advertised in, to give her the benefit of the doubt. And we are all aware, as was made known in the business statement which was presented. At 28, we are billed to rise. So the minister, also being a member of this house, is apprised of this fact and will do what she has to do. So the needful will be done, and I'm confident these questions will be answered duly. We shouldn't drag this matter, and we should just end it here, and then expect the minister to come and attend upon the house as she normally does and do the needful. There's no point in dragging the matter. Your questions will be answered.
Yes, Honorable Head. Honorable Head. Yeah, my issue has to do, if even the minister has an emergency, the answers should have been here, so that the deputy minister could have taken the answers. But she is not here, the answers are also not here. It means it's a bit. Anyway, Honorable Deputy Minister, you are discharged. Honorable Deputy Minister, you are discharged. Let me hear.
Mr. Speaker, we may not have problem with that, but we are with you. But just that we have to send a signal to the minister herself. Mr. Speaker, when deputy ministers are given, they must be given the room to operate. And this member of parliament is the one in charge of the e-parliament. She's very competent in the ministry. So if the answer had been provided, she should have been capable to answer it. And Mr. Speaker, I'm not surprised. In the last 4 years, all the 3 deputy ministers in the Ministry of Communication lost elections. None of them qualified to come. So if you couldn't groom 3, now you have only 1. Can't you groom her?
Yes, let me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just for your clarification and education, is it that the questions are not here, so we reschedule, or the deputy minister has not been tasked to perform that set duty? What exactly is the situation? I'm asking because I think that she's very capable of handling the ministry's questions as it is. Please, can you help me understand what the situation is? Thank you.
Anyway, we have got the curtains down on this particular matter. As the deputy minister has said, the questions will be available within the week. So the minister herself is not here. And you know, the innocent deputy minister cannot take the wrath of the members. So please, the minister herself is not here. We've been promised that in course of the week, she will avail herself to answer the questions. Please, let's hold on to that. Yes.
Speaker, we can now take item 7 on page 4. We're taking 7A, B, and C. C for camel. And Speaker, let me seek your leave for it to be done, all 3 to be done by, Speaker, in your own description, the innocent Deputy Minister. Very
well. So let me invite you to page 4. Page 4. Honourable members, will you give me attention? Honourable members, will you give me attention? Please give me attention. I'm inviting you to page 4. at the commencement of public business, item listed 7, presentation of papers. Yes, honorable member for Bodi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the majority side, you can't see any of the ministers around. We are here to do government business. And why we can't see any of the ministers around is mind-boggling. Can the whip explain to us what about of his ministers? Not even one, except the Deputy Minister for Communications. Mr. Speaker, this is serious. Today is Tuesday. We are here to do government business. And the ministers are running away from their own business. And so I don't think we should proceed. We should suspend sitting and allow the ministers to come and transact government business. We cannot be allowed to do business for the government. Where are your ministers? Chief Whip, where are your ministers? So, Mr. Speaker, I think that the ministers should be present and transact their own business. Thank you.
We now have a minister here.
Yeah.
A minister for public enterprises here. Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have no difficulty by the concern being raised by the former Deputy Minister for Western Housing is germane. But Mr. Speaker, the papers that are going to be laid, a number of them had already been laid. And when the Committee of Local Government, and refer to the Committee of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. Speaker, when we met the internal audit agencies, director and their bosses, there was a challenge. Before the committee, the ministers, most of them were not endorsed by the minister. What assurance I want is that I will not want to obstruct the lane of those that we have here. But the table office must be aware that they are able to cross-check to see that all those papers here have been endorsed by the sector ministers concerned. Because most of them were laid not by the minister himself. And the same mistake is what we are going to repeat today. I wouldn't want us to lay it. Then when the minister appeared before the committee and we give him the document, he said this document didn't pass through my office. Make sure the minister is aware of the documents that are being laid on his behalf so that business can progress. That is our concern.
Very well. I think it's a good observation. Let me hear you.
Speaker, my colleague and my friend, I think we've had extensive discussion on this same subject matter before. And so he shouldn't be worried about it. The needful has been done. All the checks have been done. So, but my good friend from Bodi, if he's listening, honorable member, my friend, if you are listening, you should look well. Look at our back well. You see the minister seated. Look at your back. See, I'm surprised my colleague is refusing to notice the number of ministers who are comfortably seated and giving us all the feedback. And they are ready to do business. So, Speaker, I think we should proceed. We should proceed, and as I sought your leave earlier, the Deputy Minister will do the laying. Speaker, with your leave. Not the ministers.
Yes, honorable members, please, we shouldn't take the comment by the Deputy Minority Whip, we shouldn't take it lightly. If indeed the minister said he was not aware that a paper in his ministry has been laid, then I think we should let the ministers aware that their papers are coming to be laid, and if possible, they should be here. Because I don't know the veracity of the statement he's making, but if it is indeed true, then we should let our ministers be aware of their papers. It is their own papers from the ministries. But that notwithstanding, I will allow Minister for Public Sector.
The Minister for Public Enterprise will do it. We'll do it instead.
To lay the papers on behalf of the various ministries. So, once again, let me invite you to page 4. At the commencement of public business, item listed 7. We start from A, the Minister for Health.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the School of Anesthesia and Critical Care, RAGE, for the year 2021.
Honourable members, the annual statement has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Health for consideration and report. We move to 7B. 7B.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ghana Irrigation Authority for the year 2021.
Honourable members, the annual statement has been duly presented. It will refer to the Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs for consideration and report. We turn to 7C. 7C.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Tema West Municipal Assembly for the year 2021.
The annual statement has been duly presented. It will refer to the Committee on Local Government and Rural Development for consideration and report. We turn to D. Yes, Linda, D.
Speaker, I was waiting on your signal. We are not doing D. We are ending at C. We are ending at C. And Speaker, we had some engagement with my colleague. We're supposed to take item 7F with its consequential motions. However, because we still don't have the indication from the Finance Committee, under the circumstance, we'll suspend sitting for an hour, after which we'll suspend sitting for an hour, after which we'll come and take those items as was discussed at conclave leadership.
Yes, leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it is something we discussed, so we can take a short break, hoping that the Finance Committee may come out with something. I don't know how long it may take them, because we don't have signal from the Finance Committee how much more time they may require to be able to finish. So maybe we can estimate 1 hour and say if they are done, then we can come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So, in the interim, we are suspending for 1 hour, but we'll be monitoring the activities of the Finance Committee. If it happens that we have to extend the suspension period, we will tell you. But for now, we are suspending. It's now 12:30, at 12:22. We are coming back at 1:30. 1:30. And like I said, we'll be monitoring the activities of the Finance Committee. If it happens that we need to extend the suspension, we will let members know. But in the interim, officially, we are informing you that we are coming back at 1:30. Yes, leader.
Speaker, I speak in support of my colleague's suggestion, also corroborating what he said, but also to emphasize that we also have the hydrological bill at the consideration stage. So if it so happens that the Finance Committee are still not done with, we could still come back after 1 hour and do the consideration of the hydrological bill. No.
Very well. Honourable members, The House is hereby suspended for 1 hour. Welcome back.
Speaker, I have related to senior member, the minority leader, and we have some agreement. We'll take a statement. So I will take a statement to start with. Yes.
Very well. Honourable members, let me turn you to page 6, item number 6 on today's paper, statement. Item number 6.
Speaker, if you indulge me, before the statement, we will want to quickly take item 7F. 7F, page 5.
Yes, leader.
Speaker, I believe the majority whip should make a formal application to you varying the order of business. And then when you grant it, you declare commencement of public business. Then we can proceed for the paper to be laid, after which, Mr. Speaker, you may wish to come back to statements. Then when the report of the Finance Committee is ready, we probably will consider that important business of government. And then probably, Mr. Speaker, adjourn proceedings. So let him do what is appropriate within our standing orders. Parliaments remain a place we all learn. So he should apply formally to you that he wants you to vary the order of business, which lies in your bosom, that only you have the authority to do so. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Leader. We've already done some of the lane. We've done A, B, C before he's suspended. So we've already gone into public business. So it's just a matter of continuation. So let me invite the chairman of the Finance Committee on page 5, item listed F. Committee chairman, are you on the phone? Yes.
Report of the Finance Committee on the loan facility agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, and African Export-Import Bank for an amount of up to $750 million United States dollars to finance capital and growth related expenditures in the 2022 budget.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is for distribution to honourable members. Are we doing the II and
we should revert to the statement now.
Okay.
We should take the statement and speak up.
Very well. So, honourable members, we go back to item 6, statement. And I have a statement. And the statement stands in the name of a member for Insuta Kwamambi Poso, Honourable Adelaide Intim, who is on white today. And the statement is on the phenomenon of children begging on the streets of Accra and other cities and towns in Accra. Yes, Honourable Member, you may read the statement now.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to make a statement on tree begging in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the phenomenon of children begging on the streets of Accra, other cities, and towns in Ghana is so dear to my heart and perhaps to everyone who is here as a parent or a potential parent. Mr. Speaker, the spare rate at which children of school-going age are begging on the streets of Accra has become worrying and should be seen as a major social concern. Mr. Speaker, apart from the inconveniences they cause to road users, this act of street begging by children poses a great threat to their lives, which the 1992 Constitution of Ghana frowns on. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, may I quote Article 28, Clause 2 of the 1992 Constitution, which provides every child the right to be protected from engaging in work that constitute a threat to the health, education, or development. Also, the Section 87, Clause 1 on the Children's Act 1998, Act 560, provides that no person shall engage a child in exploitative labor. Mr. Speaker, the use of children for begging, whether the child appears to be accompanied by a parent or not, is a denial of their fundamental rights, such as the right to protection, integrity, and dignity. Mr. Speaker, without prejudice, it is imperative to note that most of these children begging on the streets of Accra are foreign nationals. From the foregoing, the issue of child beggars on the streets of Accra is a multifaceted issue that can only be tackled through efforts by all stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, these children who are being used as beggars on the streets of Accra and other major towns by their parents certainly lack education and other forms of vocation at their formative stages in life and will become easy pawns in the hands of criminals. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. It's a very short statement. Can you distribute, Honourable Member, can you give us some of the copies of the statement? Yes, let me come to Kolikrote. But be snappy. We have other statements too.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by my colleague, and to mention the fact that even beyond looking at the issue of the children being denied their rights to education, is the fact that there's a very clear, obvious human trafficking element to what we're observing in our country. These are children who seem to be part of an organized group that is meant to actually come employ them as a means of getting money, and we can only guess what the money that's being raised is being used for as part of capital flight. Can it be traced to certain areas of violent extremism within the sub-region? Mr. Speaker, this issue goes beyond child protection and welfare. It extends into national security and the security in our sub-region. And as a matter of national importance and as a matter of security, it has to be addressed in a multifaceted way, so that it's not just the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection that's looking at it, but the Interior Ministry as well needs to be brought in, as well as the National Security Ministry. Mr. Speaker, this is an issue that, as we know, in some regions, minors are used in certain roles when it comes to conflict in countries. And therefore, Ghana must definitely take a very close eye, keep a close eye on this issue and do as much to discourage it, for as much as it is for the protection of the children as it is for our citizens, as some of these can be used as part of groups and elements to create instability in our country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Local Government Minister. Honorable Deputy Local Government Minister. Would you like to contribute to this statement? It's a very important statement. It's a very important statement that the local government ministry should take note of. Yes, let me come to K2 South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the colleague for MP for Nsuta Kwamai Beposo, Honorable Adelaide team, for this statement. It comes at a time when our streets are indeed full of children and their parents, especially the mothers, pushing them in between moving vehicles. But Mr. Speaker, I'm in this chamber, and I recall that I've heard this kind of statement before. My interest is really to see that indeed we take this seriously. Unfortunately, even if I'm willing and ready to support Honorable Adelaide in team to pursue this matter, the ministry under which this falls is the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. There is a deficit. There's a problem in this ministry because we do not have the substantive minister available. We do have a supervisor minister. It will interest me, and perhaps if you direct that the deputy minister for that ministry pushes a little bit harder. We are here to support her. 40 of us, 20 on the side, on the other side, and 20 on my side. We are there to support her do her work so that our children are lifted off the streets. Interestingly, it is not only Ghanaian children who are on the street, Mr. Speaker. Most of them that I've spoken to cannot speak any Ghanaian language. They are foreigners also. But the image that it paints of our country is so worrisome. Mr. Speaker, all the acts have been quoted beautifully in this statement. The laws that back the children, we have them. Implementation seems to be where we are lacking. And I appeal to you to use your high office to demand that we are supported as women in this chamber, and also as the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, to pick up the battle and fight for these children, get them off the streets, and remove them moving in between the vehicles. It is so scary, Mr. Speaker. Dark as I am, even I, as a grown-up, if I'm crossing the road and the area is dark, chances a car can knock me down easily. How much more these little kids? Sometimes 7 p.m. they are still there, especially around the Mercedes-Benz Airport Junction, Opebia Junction. It's incredible that the number of children you find around that place at night. Very soon, we'll be here in this chamber talking about see something, say something. These are the children who will be used. And what will I say again? I've already spoken here today, and I hope that it is taken in good faith. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me come to Asokwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to add my voice to commend the maker of the statement of this important phenomenon that we are facing in our country. And it's something that we can't just overlook, but ensure that the necessary steps are taken to address the issue. Mr. Speaker, you bear with me that most of these children on the streets are foreigners. as a country, what are we doing? The numbers are so huge, and we cannot just sit down and look on, because they are going to grow into our society, and a number of things are going to happen. The first concern that I have is all these children are going to exist in our country without any formal education. Do we have the numbers? As a country, I think we should begin to take census of the numbers that the children that we have and how to address their issues. Because if we cannot give them education, we should be aware that very soon they are going to be a social burden on us as people. We should also be looking at the health issues. They are exposed on the streets, and they can carry any kind of sickness, and they can carry all the pandemics that we are experiencing at this point in time. And what is disturbing factor is the fact that these children are being supervised by grown-ups, and they are engaged in child labor of a sort. They collect monies, and they have their agents who who are supervising them to collect monies for their daily way of living. And it is very disturbing, because globally, nobody wants to encourage anything of this nature. Globally, we want to see everybody in school. If as a country, we are trying to promote and ensuring that every child is given an education, why is it that we are looking on for these foreigners to be in this country and we are not ensuring that we have the right numbers and can address their educational needs? Mr. Speaker, I think that we have to challenge ourselves. The Ministry of Gender and Children must take a very bold, in consultation with the Foreign Ministry, must take a very bold step, ensure that we have the right numbers, and also to ensure that we can address their economic needs, and so that they can integrate into our economy for the betterment of our nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable. So we are relegating this to only ladies. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by my colleagues from the opposite side. Mr. Speaker, the issue of street children has been a long-standing problem in our country. It has been discussed severally, but unfortunately, little has been done. Mr. Speaker, the issue of streetism, especially the children, has so many issues that it causes them. One is poverty. Mr. Speaker, poverty is one of the biggest problems that sends these children onto the street. The second issue is lack of parental care. Some parents are not bothered. They do not even know where their children are. And because of that, once the child does not find anybody saying an A or a B to stop them from going onto the street, they get hungry or even thirsty. They go to the streets because they think that is where they can get. Mr. Speaker, some of these children on the street also come there through peer influence. Some of them imitate their colleagues, may even join their colleagues and go to the streets because they have told them, oh, I went to the street and I was able to get 10 cedis or 20 cedis. And so let's go. So the parents might not even know. Mr. Speaker, also the issue of education. There is no education to the fact that it is not the best letting parents, guardians, and what have you understand the dangers of the children going onto the streets. Mr. Speaker, a whole lot of issues come with this criticism, apart from the fact that some of them might be foreigners, and foreigners who come in due to maybe one issue or the other from their own countries, including civil wars and what have you. But most of them are actually from our own country. You listen to them and you realize that they just come from the neighborhood. Those who are considered as parents who stand by and take the monies from them are not the biological parents of these children. They are more or less like hired. So they take their monies and continue to deposit until at the end of the day. Some of them also come there to even support those who have lost their sight, those who cannot see, or some cripples, to go around and to get money. And so there is a whole lot. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to my colleagues referring to the fact that the Ministry of Gender needs to take up this issue. It's not the Ministry of Gender alone. The Ministry of Education should also be up and doing. The Ministry for Local Government should also lend its support. In fact, it should be a host of ministries. Because without education, when the child drops out, then he or she is compelled to go to the street, especially the small ones. Then giving the education on social media would also go a long way to help, so that parents will understand that it is not the best for them not to care for their children. And our own communities should watch out and try to talk to these children and even try to find out their parents, try to know where their parents are and lend their support so that these children can go back to their homes or wherever they belong so that our streets can be free. Mr. Speaker, I think that if we undertake these activities and get involved, while we are also going on our rounds, campaigning or talking to people to vote us, let us also make it part of our discussions or our talks, and it will go a long way to help. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, I come to leader. Let me listen to the deputy local government minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. And I want to commend the Honourable Member Parliament Proceedings Adelaide team for making this important statement, bringing to fore the critical issues affecting the society, particularly those ladies, gentlemen who are out of no fault of theirs, have not been able to find themselves in a good stature, have not been able to find themselves attending schools to be able to enable them to, and they found their ways in streets day in, day out. Mr. Speaker, I think that what we need to do as governments at the regional levels has to do with investing in education. And if we really invest in education, the tendency is that we'll be able to develop our skills and then we'll be able to find a way, do away from sex practices and all that. And the good thing is that if you look at the census around the country, most of these people involved in streetism are essentially not Ghanaians. And there is therefore the need for us to work together with other neighboring countries, the Nigeria, Togo, and all that to be able to address that challenges. And I also want to commend the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, working collaboratively with the gender to at least thinking about systems of trying to export them back to their various countries. Recently, we heard in the news that about 400 of them were repatriated to Nigeria. I think that it's something that we need. But we must not end there. We need to have a concerted effort at the regional levels to appreciate that as citizens, as humans, we need to invest in human resource development. And that is why I want to commend His Excellency the President for investing so much in education. The resources of the state belongs to every Ghanaian, irrespective of where you find yourself, whether rich or poor, such that by virtue of the fact that there is no barrier to access to education, then the tendency is that we are gradually but systematically developing an institutional mechanism to curtail issues of streetism in Ghana. And I think that it's a good thing that our neighboring countries, particularly Nigeria, Togo, Burkina Faso, should also take a cue. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should also take it serious so that at their regional levels, they can also bring some of the issues to bear so that at the end of the day, the issues of streetism that we find ourselves, unfortunately, in Ghana here, can also be addressed. I want to thank you. And as my colleague said, it involves other sectors, which includes local government, which includes the Ministry of Gender, which also includes foreign affairs and all of that. And that is the right thing. And I think that as going forward, we must work together to see how best we're able to curtail these issues of streetism. On that note, I want to thank the maker of the statement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Did I call you?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, you pointed at me. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very, very timely statement. I want to thank our colleague, Honourable Adelaide and team for this statement, which I consider to be very, very, very important for our nation. Mr. Speaker, I am particularly excited to contribute to this statement because I have been a victim of streetism before. I have lived on the streets of Accra for 17 years. I sold everything sellable on the streets of Accra, and there were many times that I had to beg on the streets of Accra along my life journey, and that is why I find this statement very, very special. Now, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that but for the intervention in my life by benevolent organizations like the Village of Hope Orphanage, owned by the Churches of Christ, I probably would have ended up as a misfit, a social misfit. I could have ended up as an armed robber. Mr. Speaker, I recall when we used to do the Justice for All program, there were times that we went to Isawam prisons, and I saw people in Isawam prisons who I was walking on the street with. So, Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't talk about the issue of streetism as if it is only an imported phenomenon. We must accept as a people that the problem of streetism is as a result of our failed social projects or social systems. Mr. Speaker, as we speak today, across the country, how many rehabilitation centers do we have? How many shelters do we have? How much investment have we done as a people to turn Ghana into a welfare state? Not until we realize that how we treat the most vulnerable in our society is going to be the measure of determining the development of this country, Mr. Speaker, we wouldn't be doing much. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution of Ghana, when you look at Article 28(1)(a), it enjoins the state to take special care and specially protect children who find themselves in that condition. Mr. Speaker, we have not been committed to that. And we must accept the fact that as a nation, we have failed when it comes to building a welfare state, and that is why we continue to experience the problem of streetism. And if we can find permanent solution to this, then government must begin to commit more to social welfare. Government must commit more resources to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. We must commit more to building of shelters across the country, and we must be willing to enforce our laws. Mr. Speaker, when you go to other countries, for example, you travel to UK or US, it is impossible that you will see a child walking on the street unaccompanied. The reason is that they enforce the laws, and they have facilities, social facilities, that when these children are taken away from you, they can be kept and the state can take care of them. In our case, we don't have them. So it's so difficult for us to even enforce our own laws. So, Mr. Speaker, on this date, I just want to commend my colleague for raising this awareness, and it's my hope that we will all commit to building a welfare state so that we can protect our children. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this statement.
Yeah. Let me come to leadership. Very well. So, yes, leader, let me hear you.
Speaker, we had some agreement, so you're supposed to take another statement. I think it stands in the name of General Blaffa on the other side.
Very well. So let me invite Honorable Member for North Tongue, who is also making a commemorative statement to mark Nelson Mandela International Day. Yes, Honorable Member, let's hear you.
I'm exceedingly grateful to you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this commemorative statement on Nelson Mandela International Day. In November 2009, Mr. Speaker, the United Nations General Assembly by resolution ARES 6413 declared 18th July each year, that is Nelson Mandela's birthday, as a UN commemorative day to be known as the Nelson Mandela International Day. Mr. Speaker, that unanimous UN resolution is an enduring testament of the profound inspiration Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela represents to the people of the world. Nelson Mandela has become the symbol of justice, the conscience of a fair and equitable world, the icon for the oppressed, the oracle for the marginalized, and the example for selfless leadership. When Nelson Mandela was born in 1980 into the Tembu royal family, he grew up with a firm belief that no human being deserved to live under a brutal apartheid regime. His study of the law at the University of Fort Hare and the University of Witwatersrand offered him the legal compass to navigate the era of gross human rights violations and to emerge as a defender of voiceless victims. Mr. Speaker, Nelson Mandela was not an accidental hero of the anti-apartheid struggle. His entire life was dedicated to liberating his people. He joined the African National Congress, ANC, in 1943 and co-founded its Youth League by 1944. He was later appointed president of the ANC's Transvaal branch and became a prominent leader of the 1952 Defiance, which was the first massive multiracial political mobilization against unjust laws imposed by the Apartheid National Party after its discredited 1948 electoral victory. His work at the 1955 Congress of the People, where the famous Freedom Charter was drafted and ratified, is well documented. Mr. Speaker, as a young Marxist and member of the South African Communist Party, he actively participated in mass actions and protests aimed at crippling the apartheid regime. Mr. Speaker, at the iconic Rivonia trial between October 9, 1963 and June 12, 1964, following the 1962 arrest of Nelson Mandela, the world witnessed at first hand what courageous leadership looks like when Nelson Mandela uttered the following surreal words, and I quote with your permission, Mr. Speaker. "During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. Unquote. Mr. Speaker, as we all know, Mandela was sentenced to life in prison following the 27 years he spent in jail as a prisoner of conscience. Only helped in transforming him into a global hero. In other words, the brutal apartheid regime could not imprison the ideals and principles he stood for. Mr. Speaker, we remember the solidarity campaigns across the world, and we can never forget the sacrifices of our own Ghanaian soldiers who fought in that landmark battle of Quito Carnival between August 14, 1987 and March 23, 1988, on the side of the People's Armed Forces of the Liberation of Angola, UNITA, the Cubans, USSR, the Vietnamese, SWAPO, and the ANC, where the forces of apartheid and imperialism were defeated. Historians agree that the defeat of the cowardly apartheid forces on those hallowed battlegrounds, which was the biggest conventional battle after World War II, served as the final nail in the coffin of those oppressive apartheid forces. Mr. Speaker, we celebrate Nelson Mandela on this day because he was an effective and inspirational leader who courageously confronted the most pressing challenge of his generation, apartheid. Our generation has its own unique challenges, and the story of Nelson Mandela must motivate and reinvigorate the current crop of African leaders to rise up to our contemporary challenges. The challenges of conflict, youth unemployment, climate change, racism, corruption, despotism, violent extremism, the absence of real political continental unity, and the lack of economic empowerment for the African people. Nelson Mandela International Day should lead to urgent introspection on how we can deploy effective tools to challenge the current unfair global world order and erect a new fair and just system in which trust in selfless political leadership shall be restored. Mr. Speaker, in this era of many leaders in the sub-region amending constitutions to extend their stay in power, Nelson Mandela's awesome example offers an opportunity for those intoxicated with power to have a change of heart. Here is an extremely popular leader who could have become a life president of South Africa, but instead chose to voluntarily step down after just one term to pave way for others. In doing so, he became more loved and even more influential out of office. And Mr. Speaker, we remember that he was particularly celebrated for his charity causes and his work in creating awareness about the dreaded HIV/AIDS disease. Right, Honorable Speaker, we shall always be inspired by the almost saintly story of Nelson Mandela, and we shall always salute all those who worked with him to defeat apartheid, especially Winnie Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, Steve Biko, Solomon Malangu, Moses Mabhida, Hector Peterson, and the victorious warriors of Quito Carnival. I'm thankful to you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member for Okankwe Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me make some comments on what my colleague and good friend has just read on the floor. Mr. Speaker, the President of the United Nations General Assembly recalled that on this auspicious day, Mandela stood and fought for a better world. And this is what he said today. Madiba's fight against apartheid was in fact a fight for a better world in which the freedom, justice and dignity of all were respected. Mr. Speaker, Prince Harry, speaking today on this same subject matter, said, let's talk with our children about what he stood for. Let's seek out what we have in common, empower all people to reclaim our democracies, and harness the light of Mandela's memory, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this great icon of Africa stood for a fight for a free society, protection of fundamental human rights, equality and selflessness, all geared towards the betterment of humanity and society. Mr. Speaker, it is very important that the world is celebrating this man after going through all what my brother has read to Ghanaians today. We wish Nelson Mandela well wherever he is, and what he stood for must be pursued by all of us. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I want all the contributors to be snappy. So let me come to Wa West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to thank the maker of this statement, Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, for helping and joining the UN to celebrate such a global icon. Nelson Mandela had gained ground to become a global icon because after more than 2 decades in prison, he came out and called on his adversaries to join him to govern South Africa. The kind of heart that he demonstrated, the love that he demonstrated for Africa, the love he demonstrated for South Africa was exemplified in his leadership style. Normally we say that everything rises and falls with leadership. And Nelson Mandela demonstrated that for him, what was required was to leave a better generation, a better country after his demise. He wasn't a very greedy person. He fought for social injustice for 67 years. The simple question I ask colleague members of parliament, if he has fought for 67 years for social injustice, you and I sitting here, can we fight for social injustice for Ghanaians, just even for 1 month? Nelson Mandela is a good example for the globe, for us to understand that leadership is all about selflessness. He talked about the fact that after his prison term, when he came out, he met one of his adversaries, a prison officer who had maltreated him so well while he was in prison. It was so surprising to many who found them at the time that he invited this prison officer to join him at table for them to have lunch. And people were wondering, what kind of heart do you have, Mr. Nelson Mandela, that the man you are talking about maltreated you so much while you were in prison? And today, you are free and you are inviting such a wicked person to join your table? Nelson Mandela, all he had to say was that we need a bad and we need a good. Collectively, we will make South Africa a better place. And that is why all of us here must acknowledge the fact that it wasn't for nothing that the United Nations declared 18th of July as a special day to celebrate a wonderful leader like Nelson Mandela. What are we learning from him? We are learning from him the fact that he is forgiving. We are learning from him the fact that he fought for social injustice. We are learning from him as politicians that it doesn't matter what you do, you will be remembered after your demise, either positively or negatively. Mr. Speaker, on this very short note, I want to once again applaud the maker of the statement for bringing this to the fore, because we need to provide leadership for this country, and all of us have a role to play. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me thank the maker of the statement, Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, for a very important statement. Mr. Speaker, it's a very good reason to celebrate Nelson Mandela Day. We celebrate him because of his courage. We celebrate him because of the humility he's exhibited, his sense of history, Mr. Speaker, and his steadfast love for country. Mr. Speaker, his sense of courage, because, Mr. Speaker, as has been alluded to, when he knew that he was faced with death, he was still bold enough to say he was prepared to die for his principle. Mr. Speaker, if you recall, after 25 years in prison, he was offered an opportunity to be free, but he refused, saying that that was not enough because his people in Soweto were still in prison, unless certain conditions were met. Mr. Speaker, his humility, because at all times Nelson Mandela recognized that yes, his name was all over the world, but he was where he was because so many people fought the fight. He gave credit to Thabo Mbeki and others who basically sacrificed while he was in prison at all times. Mr. Speaker, he never forgot where he came from. He never forgot those who fought for him. I remember he had an interview when he was released from prison by Ted Koppel, and he was being forced to denounce countries that had been supportive of the anti-apartheid movement like Cuba and Libya. And this was right in the middle of the United States. And he said, they could be your enemies, but those are our friends, because they stood for us when nobody will stand up for us. Those are the qualities that make us remember Nelson Mandela. The Speaker, we need to continue to emulate the exemplary leadership that Nelson Mandela exhibited. It is important that we do so. These are the only qualities that will lead us as a country to move our people into the area that we want them to do, development and prosperity. We continue to honor the memory of Nelson Mandela because of these qualities. I thank the maker of the statement.
Yeah. Let me call you, then I come to leadership. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by my colleague, Honourable Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, on the commemorative celebration of Nelson Mandela International Day. The Speaker, Madiba's life teaches us many lessons, one of which is that we all have the ability and the responsibility to change the world around us, and to do so without allowing its ugliness to corrupt us. The Speaker, despite all Madiba went through, he remained very optimistic about life. He also remained very humane. The Speaker, not because he was blind to the ugliness of the world and the treatment that was meted out to him, but because he believed that no matter what we are faced with as a people, we can always overcome, especially with the right attitude and with the right approach. We can always overcome. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, in celebrating this day, it is imperative to remind ourselves of what the United Nations General Assembly President said about Nelson Mandela and why this day is worth celebrating. Mr. Speaker, he says, and I quote, that in times of turmoil such as this, Madiba's life teaches us to choose dignity over humiliation, to speak up during injustice, and to forgive rather than to hate. Mr. Speaker, perhaps in conclusion, it is also imperative that we remind ourselves that when it becomes necessary and the only option left to contribute to changing our world for the better is to be rebellious, we must not be afraid to be. Nelson Mandela admits to his role in the formation of the sphere of the nation, but makes the argument strongly about his abhorrence to violence. But the necessity of the times compelled the blacks and the colored in South Africa at the time to embrace that approach, not because of their belief in violence, but because all other ways through which they could express their disagreement towards the system's approach had been shut. The Speaker, may leadership of today never lead our nations to a point where people will feel that all channels through which they can express their disagreement to policies and programs are shut, and the only one left is to be rebellious. I thank you very much, and I thank the maker of the statement, and we celebrate the life of Nelson Mandela and hope that we will continue to be inspired by his deeds. Thank you.
Yes, leadership. Minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the statement. Let me take the opportunity to commend the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, MP for North Tongue and ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, for making this parliament at least recognize the Nelson Mandela's Day as was declared by the UN in November 2009. Mr. Speaker, the Nelson Mandela Day is all about commemorating Mandela, honoring his life work, and continuing into the future. Mr. Speaker, there are very brilliant quotes of Nelson Mandela. I share just a few when he said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So at least today we still recognize that education remains a tool that we can use to change the world. He also said, and I quote, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is." The rest of the words will follow. But Mr. Speaker, as we commemorate Nelson Mandela Day, what is the state of freedom in the world? And what is the state of freedom in South Africa? Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, I was listening to Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, when he addressed the United Nations on the Nelson Mandela Day. And he raised an important issue: one, social media, and two, democracy and the threat. He made reference to the U.S. Supreme Court on Roe versus Wade, and said that there was an assault on democracy. But Mr. Speaker, what was instructive listening to Prince Harry was when he said that social media is now being used as a tool, to quote his words, in weaponizing lies. To borrow my own words, social media have become a toxic source of misinformation. So he was concerned. So, Mr. Speaker, as we observe Nelson Mandela Day, in South Africa, we have witnessed what is called xenophobic attacks. That is unlike Mandela. We have seen them not being able to coexist with their neighbors, whether from Zambia, from Zimbabwe, from Mozambique, even sometimes from Ghana, have suffered in their hands while living in South Africa in what is supposed to be generally a free world. Mr. Speaker, whilst commending the maker of the statement, I just pick on one more: the state of justice in South Africa. Mr. Speaker, there is a lot Ghana can learn from South Africa. When you look at black-white ratio, even in terms of the distribution of wealth in South Africa, it is still one that one cannot be proud of. Unemployment is still unacceptably high for black South Africans. Opportunities are still limited. Corruption has become a problem. The now Chief Justice of South Africa presided over an investigative report on corruption in South Africa, and the revelations are damning. So, Mr. Speaker, we would observe Nelson Mandela Day, a proud and illustrious son of Africa and its leader, a true Pan-Africanist who worked as observed by Honorable Ablakwa, with the like of Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, Steve Biko, and co. in fighting for a free South Africa. But, Mr. Speaker, regrettably, South Africa, in my view, doesn't appear free today. I thank you for the opportunity, and I thank the maker of the statement.
Yes, leader.
Speaker, I rise to speak definitely in support of the motion and commend my colleague the statement. Commend my colleague particularly for the statements. Speaker, as I speak, I recall the Bill of Rights as was captured by the UN Charter. This document had more or less encapsulated the ideals and the things Nelson Mandela and the likes of Steve Biko, Thabo Mbeki, and all those heroes have stood for. But not to belabor the point, so I want to take it from the point where the minority leader talks about xenophobic tendencies which have spread across the continent. I think that South Africans, based on the fact that Nelson Mandela has become an iconic leader on the continent, our African colleagues from South Africa may have to support in showing a very good example in terms of the things Nelson Mandela stood for. Globally, when one talks about non-violence tendency, we talk about Gandhi, who exemplified the leadership. But suffice it to say that Nelson Mandela was also he cast a shadow in terms of non-violence tendencies. And that is something that is missing. And we will have to look at it again and buy into that concept, which was well personified by Nelson Mandela. So the threats of social media is real. And in this time of an age, we may have to rear our head to it and begin to find a solution. You recall that situation then, about 3 or 4 decades back, when Nelson Mandela stood tall against oppression and apartheid system. In our time now, social media threats has become real. And as we show leadership in this area, we as a future generation may have to devise innovative measures to deal with that. But let me conclude on a note of economic emancipation. Rights, as was encapsulated in the Bill of Rights of the UN Charter, freedom, expression, and the belief in human beliefs. All these are ideals that are celebrated internationally. But at this stage of our life and as a generation, economic emancipation and poverty is confronting us as a continent. And for me, even as we celebrate the human rights tendencies and all the things that Nelson Mandela stood for, we must extrapolate and look in the context of what these ideals could do while we fight as a country and as a continent in supporting the fight against poverty and coexistence of humanity. This, for me, is the relevance of the things Nelson Mandela stood for. But let me conclude on the note of commending the maker of the statement, particularly where he identifies other relevant icons of the continent who also contributed in diverse ways in all the things that Nelson Mandela and the likes of him stood for. So I thank you for the space, guys.
Very well. So, honourable members, we bring statement time to a close. I would like to thank the makers of the statement as well as all the contributors. Yes, leader.
Speaker, addendum paper 2. As well, I'll seek your leave. Speaker, addendum paper 2, and accordingly, I'll seek your leave for it to be done by the Deputy Minister of Finance.
Yes. Honourable members, let me invite you to addendum paper 2, item listed 1A. Yes.
Buyer's credit agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry for Finance and Dutch Bank SAE as arranger, structuring Bank mandated lead arranger and agent for an amount of 135,396,518 euros and 38 cents, supported by a CESCE insurance premium to finance the design and construction of Phase 1 of the Swami Interchange and Ancillary Works project at Kumasi, Republic of Ghana.
Honourable members, the agreement is duly presented. It is referred to the Finance Committee for consideration and report. Are you doing the B, the I?
Speaker Zaliso. Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Commercial facility agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry for Finance, and Dutch Bank SAE, as arranged.
Honourable members, please. Honourable members.
Speaker.
Yes, now we can go on.
Yes.
So, Honourable Deputy Minister, may you lay the paper again. Aye.
Commercial facility agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry for Finance, and Dutch Bank SAE as arranger, structuring bank, mandated lead arranger and agent for an amount of 21 million euros to finance the design and construction of Phase 1 of the Swami Interchange and Ancillary Works project at Kumasi, Republic of Ghana.
Honourable members, the report is duly presented. It is referred to the Finance Committee for consideration and report.
Speaker, we are ready for B on same addendum paper 2, page 2, item B, 1B.
Yes. Now the Minister for Rules is here. Minister, may you...
Contract agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Minister for Roads and Highways through the Department of Urban Roads, and Rango Disma JV, a joint venture between Rango Construction Company Limited and Terrorist Disma SL for an amount of 140 million euros for the design and construction of Phase 1 of the Swami Interchange and Ancillary Works project at Kumasi, Republic of Ghana.
Honourable members, the report is duly presented. It is referred to the Committee of Finance for consideration and report. But, leader, can I add the leadership of Roads and Highways? This one. It's Roads. These for transport.
Mr. Speaker.
The B. Yeah, the referral.
Mr. Speaker, because the Finance Committee will be dealing with it and the contract agreement will be going to the Roads Committee, I believe if we just add the leadership so that we will have some understanding. Just the leadership, not the entire, it shouldn't be a joint committee. The leadership, the chair, the vice, the ranking and the deputy ranking can join them.
So, honorable members, the referral I made, like I said, the leadership of roads and highways will join the Finance Committee in considering this particular agreement.
Speaker. Okay. Speaker, same on the addendum paper 2.
Mr. Speaker, the B is the contract agreement. So that goes to the Roads and Transport Committee. It goes to the Roads and Transport Committee. And I was saying that if for the agreement itself, for the loan facility, which will be referred to the Finance Committee, if you want to add the leadership of roads and transport to that one, then commensurately with the contract agreement, you add the leadership of the Finance Committee. So we are able to walk through it quickly.
So, honorable members, it means the B, the referral should rather go to the roads and highways. And if Finance Committee leadership may join, that will do. So that is the referral now, please.
Mr. Speaker. No, I realized that Finance Committee was so protective when initially they said it was being referred to Finance and Roads should come there. I think the Roads Committee can handle this without the Finance leadership.
Honorable members, that is the referral I made. It's going to the Roads Committee. The leadership of Finance Committee may join them. Yes.
Speaker, on same addendum paper 2, and this time item 2, the tax exemption bill at the consideration stage.
Yes.
Tax exemption bill at the consideration. Speaker, item 2 on addendum paper 2, on page 2.
Yes. Honorable members, let's invite you to once again the addendum paper 2, page 2, item 2, tax exemption bill, consideration stage. Yes. We will begin with cross 1. 1. Cross 1.
Object of this act.
Yes, leader.
Speaker, I'll have to indulge you and seek your leave. Clause 1, there's no advertised amendment. But if you read 1A, the object of this act is to provide for an exemptions regime, including variation or limitation of the scope, where necessary. The word "where necessary," in my view, should go. It should be deleted. Now, an act to provide for an exemptions regime, the scope and limitations. That is how it should be couched. When you say "where necessary," what are you implying? 1, yes. Line 1A, the second line, where necessary. What is that word serving there? Provide for an exemptions regime. Then when you say including variation or limitation of the scope, my understanding is that the object of this act is to provide for an exemptions regime, define the limitations and scope of exemptions. But when you say limitation of the, using the word including variation or limitation of the scope. No, Mr. Speaker, the object of this act, as we've read from the explanatory memorandum, is to provide a legal framework for Ghana's tax exemptions regime, define the scope, and provide for the limitations of exemptions. But when you take me through and say "where necessary," I think that the word "where necessary" should go. It should be deleted. Set clear eligibility criteria for exemptions. Maybe do we even put tax exemptions there, or we just want to say exemptions? Because in the Constitution under Article 174, Mr. Speaker, with respect, I refer to Article 174 for our purposes. It uses the word 3. Parliament may by resolution supported by votes of not less than 2/3 of all members of exempt the exercise of any from no. I want the one, no taxation shall be imposed other than by the authority of Parliament. So we can still leave it there, but I would think that everywhere it should be. Okay, so that's fine. But let's deal with the one. So you see, when you say provide for the administration of exemptions, is that an object? That cannot be an object. Provide for the administration of exemptions and provide for monitoring, evaluation, reporting, and enforcement of exemptions. That still means administration of exemptions is what you have defined as monitoring, evaluation, reporting, and enforcement. So it's too clumsy in the object. So I think that, Mr. Speaker, we should reduce the objects to just 2. Provide for tax exemption, define the scope and limitations of exemptions, eligibility criteria, and for the administration of exemptions. The D, in my view, is superfluous. You cannot provide for administration of exemptions and then provide for monitoring, evaluation, reporting. That is administration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, that is an amendment proposed by the minority leader. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I generally agree with the minority leader, but Mr. Speaker, each of the lines we see under 1 is intended to achieve a particular communication. Each of the items you see there, in fact, these are elements that are missing currently in the exemptions regime. We do have an exemptions regime, and it provides some limitations and all that. The framers of this bill have isolated these lines because they are important elements in this whole review of exemptions. But I do agree, for instance, under A, that where necessary may go away, the and before exemptions may go away. If there's any way we can consolidate B and C, that would be fine. But I hope that we leave D, because currently the monitoring and evaluation of exemptions, once we have granted them, isn't adequate. And I think there's a clear intention here to correct that. That is why we see D. So we may do the honorable minority leader may help us with a rendition in respect of his changes to A, but please let's keep D. Let's keep D. D is okay.
So, Mr. Speaker, for purpose of clarity, my proposal for clause 1, the object of this act, I so propose, with your leave, is to provide for an exemptions regime, define the limitation and scope of exemptions, set, then you don't need A, B, C, D, my view. You just put in one sentence. Set eligibility criteria for exemptions and for the administration of exemptions. Then you leave it there. I so propose.
Leader, may you come again? I didn't get your amendment.
Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that the object of this act is to provide for an exemptions regime, comma, define the limitations and scope. Yeah, fine. So I prefer scope. Scope of exemptions, comma, set, you don't need the word clear, set eligibility criteria for exemptions and for the administration of exemptions. Then that's it. The rest of the words should go, if that is acceptable to the chairman and others. I've captured C. I've only taken out D. Okay, so add D. Add it to the sentence and we have something to go.
Yes, Honorable Member Fadeku.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I get the point leader made, but D is very critical. Mr. Speaker, after the approval for exemption, it is very necessary for the monitoring, evaluation and reporting on the exemptions granted. As we have all complained in this house, when we grant the exemptions, nobody knows exactly how they are implemented. So I think we should maintain D as part of the bill. It's very critical.
Yes, a member for Etiwa East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to reinforce what my colleague on the other side said, because it's very, very important that we monitor and report to this House all the exemptions that we do after this bill has been passed. So it's important that we leave it as it is in the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Leader. Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the principle espoused by the minority leader, but I would urge that for one, it reads A. The object of this act is to A. Provide for an exemptions regime and the scope of the exemptions, because the scope would include the limitations. So you're providing for an exemptions regime and the scope of the exemptions. That would be A. B, the Speaker, in line with the language of the Constitution, we can't just insert the words and qualifications. Set clear eligibility and qualification criteria for the exemptions. The Speaker, set eligibility and qualification criteria for the exemptions. Yes, you're adding qualifications, criteria for the exemptions, and then of course C for provide for monitoring, evaluation, reporting, and enforcement of the exemptions. That will relate to the administration anyway.
C.
So you can
provide
take C
for
out.
administration.
You can take C out and leave C and leave D. Mr. Speaker, what would be the remit of administration? It relates to monitoring, it relates to evaluation, it relates to reporting and enforcement of the exemptions. So C really, in my view, is superfluous. So we can rather leave the A as further amended. The B we add and qualification, we insert it and qualification after eligibility, and we delete clear, and then we leave D, and rather take out the C. As you can associate.
Yes, that is the further
Mr.
amendment.
Speaker, I so strongly feel that clause 1 should be divided into only 2 sub-clauses, 2, not the A, B, C, D, not 4. So following from leader, clause 1 should read, the object of this act is to provide for an exemptions regime, scope and eligibility criteria for exemptions. Then that will stand as 1. That's the first object. Provide for an exemptions regime, the scope and eligibility criteria for exemptions. Then we can come to 2, a sub-clause 2. Provide for monitoring, evaluation, reporting, enforcement and administration of exemptions. So then you have 2 sub-clauses which deals with all their concerns. So the administration will be embedded in the D. I so move. Maybe chairman can speak to it or leader and we will improve it. At least I bought into.
You support? Yes.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Speaker, I support the recent proposal by the minority leader, but I further want to prefer further amendment to 1A. 1A. Mr. Speaker, in my humble opinion, 1A should end at regime. At regime. That is, the object of this act is to A, provide for exemptions regime. Mr. Speaker, regime includes variation, limitation, scope. Regime captures all that. So I don't see why in bringing regime, we want to add including limitation, variation, and scope. The exemptions regime, the law is providing for the exemptions regime. It should end there. Then the B can capture what my leader is providing. It is surplusage to add including variation or limitation of the scope where necessary. It's not needed at all.
That one has already been amended. The proposal has already amended that.
No,
including variation or limitation of the scope when necessary. we've already, of course, we have not put the question, but we have already amended that section.
And Speaker, I'm guided. And Speaker, I am fortified in my present amendment with the reading of clause 2(1). This act applies to all exemptions. We are not adding anything to at the end of exemptions. So in my humble opinion, 1A should read provide for an then.
Yes, honourable members, that is the proposed amendment by honourable member for Southern. Yes, Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, point by Honourable Roxy, the Fiamako, but in order that we appreciate the point by the minority leader, you need to go to the memo, the memorandum of the bill, and you would see that it is not as though we do not have an exemptions regime. We do have an exemptions regime. This act is intended to do something to that exemptions regime. And that is why you see words such as variation and limitation of scope. So if we were to leave it to provide for an exemptions regime, it creates the impression that at the moment we do not have any regime governing our exemptions. That is why I think that, especially when the minority leader's rendition is not harmful, let us take that one, add D, and make progress. Respectfully, on all the firm.
Speaker, I will concede.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I want to add the Honourable Dafamako's concerns with the majority leader. Clause 1 should read, the object of this act is to provide for an exemptions regime, scope and eligibility criteria for exemptions. Then you put the question on that and let's see what progress we make. Because the scope, as leader said, will provide the limitations. Then when you provide the legal framework for the exemptions regime, you would have even necessarily provided for its administration. But because they insist, I think that clause 1A or 1.1, subclause 1 should be provide for an exemptions regime, the scope and eligibility criteria for exemptions. Then we put a question on it. Administration can stand on its own, provide for the administration of exemptions. Then you now can come to the D. We are only making the 1A neater. Even though I am not for you repeating administration, but to get it right, the object is to provide for an exemptions regime, the scope and eligibility criteria for exemptions. That should be the first object of the bill. I so move.
Honourable members, I will then put the question.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, I appreciate the principle from the minority leader. But really, it's just for the avoidance of doubt that we have the A, B, C, and D. I agree that we have a better capturing of A, which should read, provide for an exemptions regime and the scope of the exemptions. That will be for A. And then the D will read, set eligibility and qualification criteria for exemptions. One could say, set criteria for exemptions, which would mean the same thing, except that, Mr. Speaker, borrowing from the language of the Constitution. In many places, you have eligibility and qualification criteria. It's only for that reason why I'm suggesting that we further qualify it by inserting the words and qualification, so that it will read set eligibility and qualification criteria for exemptions. And I believe the C and D should be maintained. Mr. Speaker, I initially thought that the monitoring, evaluation, reporting and enforcement would be part of the administration. But I'm strongly urged that we should have an administration for this. Which then will mean that we have C standing and D also standing, except to fine-tune A and B. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe we can go forward with that. I thank you very much.
Yes, Nelson.
Speaker,
yes.
I appreciate what leader is saying. But that is why under Section 30, the minister is to come to this house within 12 months for regulations. The regulations will stipulate some of these things. The regulations will give flesh to the provisions we are presently seeking to amend. So for me, if we do all this in the substantive law, then what would the regulation provide? So it is the regulations that will flesh out some of these things and provide for some of these limitations, variations, scope, and
all. Members, please, there's so much noise here.
So Speaker, I think that because regulations will come, that will flesh out some of these finer details. We shouldn't. It's not necessary that we provide all these further details in the substantive law. That's my humble opinion.
So, what is the regulation now?
Mr. Speaker, listening to the chairman, leader, and the Honorable Nelson, I have just gotten a PDF sent to me of a 2019 act from a friend in Canada. Provide for the administration of exemptions is notorious in all the tax exemptions acts that I have stated. I'm now looking at 7 of it which has just been sent to me. So the C will have to stand independent. The D, I agree with leader, is not necessary. It's not necessary. Once you provide for the administration, maybe we can join enforcement to administration. Provide for the administration and enforcement of exemptions. Then it stands alone. Provide for the administration and enforcement of exemptions. Because monetary evaluation and reporting are administrative. But the first part can still stand. Provide for an exemptions regime, the scope and eligibility criteria for exemptions. I so propose. Then the rest of the words can go. Then clause 1 can stand as the object of this act.
So, do we put the question now? So, leader, may you come out with your rendition well so that we. Leader. Or the chairman. Finance Committee chairman. Let's see the final rendition.
Honestly, I agree with Honorable Haruna, final rendition.
Mr. Speaker, just to go over it again, it should read, the object of this act is to provide for an exemptions regime and the scope of the exemptions. Provide for an exemptions regime and the scope of the exemptions. That is the A. The B, Mr. Speaker, we may say set criteria for exemptions. But if we would want to maintain the eligibility, then certainly we will need the qualification as well. Eligibility and qualification criteria. I don't know, set criteria. We could just do set criteria simplicity. Set criteria for exemptions so that we do away with the eligibility. And then C, provide for the administration of exemptions. And Speaker, the D, provide for monitoring, evaluation, reporting and enforcement of the exemptions. Speaker, I will support that because we want, I've changed my mind. Minority, I've changed my mind. The reason is they need to report to Parliament, for instance. And once we leave that one out, it may create a problem. It may say that they are not responsible to Parliament. So let's allow that to also stand. And so that they will have that obligation to report to Parliament. That's because the only reason why I've changed my mind on this. Thank you.
So, honourable members, the proposed amendment to clause 1. All those in favour of the amendment say aye. All those against the proposed amendment say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. So,
application.
So I put the question on the entire clause. Yes. All those in favor of the clauses of the amendment on clause 1 as variously amended, say aye. May you please respond. All those in favor of the amendment variously carried in clause 1, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. Clause 1 as variously amended stands part of the bill. Clause 2.
Application.
Yes, leader.
Speaker, I'm wondering whether the chairman is, with your leave, clause 2.1, this act shall apply to all exemptions. And then this act applies to all exemptions. Those who are modern drafters, which one is right? Is shall apply or either of them is right. Applies to all exemptions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable member for Savda.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, in addition to leader's amendment, 2.1, sorry? Okay. Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment to 2.1, and that it should read, this act applies to all tax exemptions. All tax exemptions. Because the chairman of the finance committee indicated to this house that there are other existing legislations on tax exemptions. And so I think that we should qualify it properly. Thank you.
Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, if we go to clause 3, where exemption is defined, the concern raised by my honourable colleague would have been addressed. So I plead with him to drop that. When we get there, we will see the definition of exemption to include the taxes and all the other things that came up at the committee where you so marvelously contributed to this. I plead with him to therefore drop the amendment.
Speaker, as much as I agree with the chairman of the committee, it is rather proper that we draft clearly and the intent of Parliament is conveyed clearly. So if we say tax exemptions, it clarifies the law rather properly. I don't have to go to interpretation to go and gather the meaning. On the face of it, it should be stated clearly. So tax exemptions is tax exemptions. I don't have to go to the interpretation. No, I may not have an issue, but if I'm struggling to appreciate what exemptions, I'm now being referred to go to a certain interpretation to go and. But if it is expressly stated on the face of the law, then I am saved that tax. So that when we say it applies to exemptions, we mean tax exemptions and no other exemption on the face of the law.
But, Honourable Member, don't you think we have to read longer as a whole instead of picking it like that? Once you read it as a whole,
Mr. Speaker, indeed yes, but we are being taught to draft clearly without ambiguities. Why do I have to import an ambiguity and struggle to go and explain it down the line?
Anyway, that is the proposal from Honourable Member.
Right, Honourable Speaker.
Let me come to.
I get a point my colleague is making, but the truth is that at the interpretation section, we haven't actually defined exemption. That is why the clause 3 is in this. The clause 3 actually is explaining the definition of what we are trying to exempt here. So there will not be any need even to have it at the interpretation section. In fact, it doesn't even exist at the interpretation section. Unless the definition in clause 3 is inefficient, then we can improve it. But as it is now, the clause 3 actually defines exactly what we are going to exempt, whether levies, charges, taxes, and everything. It's quite clear there in but that is the job of the chairman to explain to my colleague. Well, so maybe you have the opportunity to see whether you can do that.
Yes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise to support the proposed amendment by the Honourable the Chairman. I don't believe that if we were to add all tax exemptions, where we will insert tax in between all and exemptions, it is going to be injurious to what we are seeking to do. In my opinion, it rather emboldens what we are trying to do. It makes it obvious and takes away any other ambiguity. In that capacity, I support the amendment that he's proposing.
Yes, let me come to you, Chairman.
Yeah, respectfully, Mr. Speaker, when you put the word tax there, you limit what 2.1 is actually trying to communicate. Because the exemptions regime this act is seeking to improve, it's not just in respect of taxes. That's why if you go to trade, you see levies, you see fees, you see other charges. So if you bring tax here, what you're doing is that the meaning communicated by levy, charge, and all those things, you are excluding them from 2.1. I don't know why we would want to do that. So I respectfully think we should leave it as it is.
It's in agreement. Or use
Speaker, the issue is not as simplistic as the chairman states it. Speaker, if I may refer the House to Regulation 2, Sub-Regulation 4. It provides that this act is a tax law for purposes of the Revenue Administration Act 2016, Act 915. So what is the chairman saying? That I cannot say that the act applies for tax exemptions? I can say so. And indeed, the section 3, which refers to, is now seeking to interpret tax to enlarge the meaning of tax, to include fees. And fee and charge are also appropriately defined in the interpretation section. except tax. Fees and charges are defined without defining tax, because Section 3 would have been taking care of the definition of tax by way of enlarging it to mean other levies and fees that are applied. So I am of the firm opinion that qualifying that with tax is appropriate and correct within our modern ways of drafting legislation in this house. I so submit.
Speaker, I appreciate the issue being raised by the Honorable Roxanne. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the long title, it reads, "An Act to Regulate the Application of Tax Exemptions and Other Exemptions." So it's not dealing only with tax exemptions, but other exemptions as well. That is born in the long title. It's born in the long title. So it's not only related to taxes. There are other exemptions that you are dealing with. As you have been told, you are dealing with levies, you are dealing with fees, other charges, and I would even want to suggest that in 2.2, we even insert the word rates and duties as contained again in the Constitution. So rates and duties ought to be incorporated in that construction. So it's not only for tax exemptions, we are talking about other exemptions as borne out in the long title. So whereas appreciating the issue that you have raised, is not related only to tax exemptions. The problem, as I gather, maybe have to do with even the short title, which just provides tax exemptions. We may have some difficulties there, but we can relate to it maybe as when we get there. That is the short title and the long title. So it's not only for tax exemptions. It's other exemptions are also called into play.
So, Speaker, we all learn under the feet of leader. But I took inspiration from 2.4. 2.4 is very clear. You see, the House is seeking to enlarge the meaning of tax for tax to mean levies, charges, fees, and the trade. I appreciate that. But I'm saying that on the face of 2.1, it would not be out of place at all to qualify it. But let the record bear that I got defeated, but I'm very strong in my opinion. I thank you.
So you've abandoned your opinion now?
Let's put the question.
Yes, so, leader, may you give us the rendition?
Mr. Speaker, I was just saying that for purposes of synchronizing with the long title, we set the words rates and duties, so that it will read, "This act shall be read together with any other enactment relevant to taxation, rates, levies, duties, fees, and charges, and public financial management." Speaker, I so move.
Honorable members, the proposed amendment by the majority leader. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Honorable members, if we are here and we are not prepared to respond, I wouldn't take it. All those in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. Yes. Now I put the entire clause. All those in favor that clause 2, as variously amended, stands part of the bill, say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, clause 2, as variously amended, stands part of the bill. Clause 3.
Definition of exemption.
Now we come to definition of exemptions. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to propose that correspondingly and consequentially, what I did for 2.2 should reflect in 3, so that where fees or charge provided about this and enactment, we include the words that are inserted, rates and duties. For 3A and 3B, as so moved, Mr. Speaker. The figure is consequential to 2.2.
Yes, honourable members, there is a proposal for amendment by the majority leader. All those in favour of the proposed amendment, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, it's obvious the ayes have it. The proposed amendment is carried. I put the entire clause 3. Honourable members, all those in favour that the entire the clause 3 as variously amended stands part of the bill, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. Clause 3 as variously amended stands part of the bill. Clause 4.
General responsibility.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a committee's amendment in respect of clause 4. The amendment proposes sub-clause 3, line 1, after not, insert, waive or vary a domestic indirect tax, or Mr. Speaker, the point of that amendment is to prohibit not just the signing of an agreement to achieve the effect in there, but also the waiver, even if an agreement does not exist, some kind of administrative waiver. So this insertion by the committee is to ensure that not only are persons not permitted to enter into an agreement to waive domestic indirect taxes, but that they are unable to waive that in any other way. That's the point of the amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, there is a proposed amendment. Yes, honourable member for that group.
Right, honourable Speaker. I want the chairman to read the full rendition of after the amendment, and let's see how it reads, because for me it looks like we are going to repeat one of the lines. So just read the full rendition.
So the full rendition will be: a person shall not waive or vary a domestic indirect tax or enter into an agreement to waive or vary a domestic indirect tax unless expressly provided for in this act or the relevant tax law. That then becomes the rendition.
Yes, honourable members, there is a proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee. All those in favour of the proposed amendment, say aye. All those in favour of the proposed amendment, say aye. All those against, say no. It's obvious the proposed amendment is carried. Let me put the... Okay. Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, in respect of 4, we request, is it a table of this, to do this insertion for us, but the committee's amendment is to add the following new subclause. A person shall not waive or vary a tax, levy, fee, or charge imposed by a local government authority unless the waiver or variation is authorized under a bylaw of the local government authority. It's a new subclause we are inserting. Mr. Speaker, the point of this amendment is to correct a situation where entities go to local governments to do their projects, and then they tell the local government authorities that I have waiver from Accra, land, that I have been exempted from taxes and from all taxes, and therefore local government, you are unable to enforce this on me. The committee considered that taxes granted at the national level cannot apply to the local level, and if you go there, unless you have expressed exemption at the local level, you need to comply with all your tax obligations at the local level. That is the point of the amendment. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable members, there is a proposed amendment to add additional subclause Yes, leader.
Yes, I was having a chat with the chairman of the Finance Committee, and I was telling him that we should, in line with Article 245B, insert rates and duties. Again, because 245B provides for the levy and collection of taxes, rates, duties, and fees at the level of the assemblies. I'm saying that we should include that, just to be in sync with Article 245B. And he was disagreeing with me violently.
I apologize for disagreeing, Mr. Speaker.
So let me get the new rendition. Chairman or the leader, let me get the new rendition.
Mr. Speaker, just to insert the words after tax, you would insert rates, duties, or because it's singular, you will say a person shall not waive or vary a tax, rate, duty, fee, or charge imposed by a local government authority. Let's just do that. Yes, a person shall not vary a tax, rate, duty, fee, or charge. If we go over, a person shall not waive or vary a tax, rate, duty, fee, or a charge. So levy is included. Levy is included. Tax, rate, duty, fee, levy, or a charge imposed by a local government authority. So all those ones that are here on the other paper are there. I've just inserted rate, duty.
Honourable members, there is a proposed amendment now, stands in the name of the majority leader. All those in favour?
Mr. Speaker, I just want clarity regarding this particular clause. Are there taxes that local authorities cannot waive. I'm just looking at a situation where, under this act, some taxes are waived. Let's say at Accra level, they get to a local authority and they decide to reimpose all of those taxes, saying that by their local bylaws they can do that. Aren't we supposed to create distinction in terms of what they can waive and what they cannot waive, so that we don't waive certain taxes here and they go back and impose it because of their bylaws? I'm just not sure we are giving them the right to do whatever they want in terms of taxation, and Accra also does the same. So if the chairman can help.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, there's a general tax regime, but the law permits, the Local Governance Act and other laws permit local government authorities to charge their own fees. That is governed by other laws and the Constitution. So all that this amendment to the bill is seeking to do is to say, wherever local government authorities are permitted to charge fees, raise duties, or aiming, unless you are expressly exempted from that payment, you cannot use the exemptions you got with central government also as a basis to get exempted from the local ones. That's all we're seeking to do here.
Now I put a question, and the question is: all those in favor of the proposed amendment to clause 4, is it C3, as further amended, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment as further So I put the question again. All those in favor of the proposed further amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed is hereby carried. Now I put clause 4. Honourable members, all those in favor, that's clause 4, as variously amended, should be part of the bill, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. Clause 4, as variously amended, is hereby stands part of the bill.
Responsibility of the minister.
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, if I may urge that we suspend the consideration now for a brief while to enable us attend to the provisions contained on the other paper, Addendum 3. Addendum 3. Is it?
Distributed.
3, Addendum 3. Just name. Just name.
Honourable members, let me now invite you to Addendum 3. Addendum 3. Addendum 3. Item A1. A1. Minister of Finance. Now the Deputy Minister.
That's fine.
term loan agreement facility.
Speaker, you haven't brought consideration to an end. Hey.
Yes, honourable members, we turn to addendum 3.
Mr. Speaker, addendum 3, A, Roman numbers 1 and 2, should be done by the Minister of Finance. And the Deputy Minister for Finance is here. The Deputy Minister for Finance is here, so if we can allow him to do the presentation to the House.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, at this crucial time, ordinarily we would not have any challenge with the laying of these people, simply because it has to do with construction of bridges in some parts of this country. Mr. Speaker, at this crucial time when we are getting to the end of the meeting, the finance minister of this house and the minister for parliamentary affairs is saying that we should seek your leave for this to be laid by he himself. Mr. Speaker, as our leader, we may not have problem with that, but we urge that where we are, there is heat and pressure within, and the minister must be here to feel it on. So, Mr. Speaker, I have no challenge. The deputy knows the heat, but the minister doesn't know the heat. He must be here.
Mr. Speaker, just to set the record straight, I didn't make the application for myself. I said we have the Deputy Minister for Finance here, so we should allow her to stand in for the minister to do the presentation of the document in the House.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Minister is our colleague in this House, but normally my attitude will be that once there is a Minister for Roads who is linked to it, it can be laid by the Minister for Roads on behalf of the Minister of Finance. But I have no difficulty accepting the Honourable Abner say as I relaying it on behalf of the Minister for Finance. Thank you.
Very well. So let me invite the Minister for Roads to.
Mr. Speaker, the first one is finance. The A Roman number 1 and Roman number 2. They are to be done by the Minister for Finance.
Yes, Honourable Member for Etiwa East. A1.
Term loan facility agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, and Standard Chartered Bank London as original lender, agent, structuring bank, mandated lead arranger, and social loan coordinator for an amount of 97,721,615 euros and 91 cents, supported by a CESCE insurance premium to finance the construction of the Yape, Gupe, and Daboya bridges in Ghana.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee of Finance for consideration and report. We move to AII.
term loan facility agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, and Standard Chartered Bank, London, as original lender, agent, structuring bank, mandated lead arranger, and social loan coordinator for an amount of 4,527,063 euros and 54 cents to finance the construction of the Yape, Buipe, and Daboya bridges in Ghana.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee of Finance for consideration and report. Honourable member, we are doing bridges in the northern part of your area. So why all this? We move to B, including Bupe. We are moving to B. Yes, let me invite Honourable Minister for Roads.
Contract agreement. Contract agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Roads and Highways, acting through the Ghana Highway Authority, and QGMI Constructions Infrastructure Globals, SLU, for an amount of 96,345,506 United States dollars and 37 cents, equivalent to 88 million euros, for the design and construction of 3 bridges in the northern region. Lot 1, design and construction of bridge over Black Volta at Buipe, span 240 meters. Lot 2, design and construction of bridge over White Volta at Yape, span 240 meters. Lot 3, design and construction of bridge over White Volta at Daboya, span 300 meters.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Roads and Highways for consideration and report.
Speaker, thank you.
Speaker, should we go on to the original? No, just a minute. No. To the original order paper, item number 7E on page 5. Original order paper. Presentation of papers.
Well. Honourable members, Honourable Mutala, please take your seat. Honourable members, please allow me. Honourable members, we are going back to the original. We are invited to page 5, item F. Page 5, item F.
Speaker, we are on presentation of papers, and we are taking item 7E, E for Emmanuel. E.
Well. That is page 5, item E. By the chairman of the committee. You start with Roman numerals 1.
Report of the Committee on Employment, Social Welfare and State Enterprises on the audited financial statement of the Ghana Cocoa Board for the 2019 and 2020 financial years.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented. It is for distribution to honorable members. Yes. Chairman, you take the B? Yes. Chairman, the B, the II.
Report of the Committee on Employment, Social Welfare and State Enterprises on the audited financial statement of the Ghana Great Company for the 2019 and 2020 financial years.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented. It is for distribution to honorable members. Yes, leader.
Speaker, looking at the time, we are in your hands now.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, after the suspension of the House, we didn't sit early, so we may have to adjourn now, except to plead that we may have to sit early tomorrow in order to be able to complete the exemptions bill and also the hydrological authority bill. So let's sit early tomorrow at about 10 o'clock in order for us to be able to finish with this. Speaker, thank you very much.
Very well, leader.
Mr. Speaker, the mood of the House is for an adjournment. We endeavor to be here early tomorrow. Thank you.
Honorable members, let me thank all of you for your cooperation. We've done a lot for the day. We are coming back tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. I thank you once again, and the House stands adjourned.